Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Business Insider. I'm your host for tonight, Mohammed Abdirahim, and tonight we'll be talking about investment opportunities in Egypt, the challenges and the big opportunities in the huge Egyptian market, and the Egyptian government's efforts to improve the investment climate atmosphere in the country so as to draw more local and foreign direct and indirect investments. And with us in the studio is economic consultant Dr. Amr Hamid. A very good evening to you. Dr. Hamid, always a pleasure to have you with us.
Good evening. It's always my pleasure too. Thank you.
Dr. Hamid. Allow us, please, and allow us, dear viewers, as we always do, first to watch a report about our main topic for tonight, and then we'll come back and start our discussion. Please stay with us.
Ahmed Koshuk, the Minister of Finance, announced that the private sector investments had risen by almost 80%, the highest rate since in years, as a result of recent government reforms aimed at fostering competitive neutrality. Speaking at the second annual conference of the Egyptian Competition Authority on Monday, Koshuk revealed that 10 major projects are scheduled to be activated this year. The minister emphasized that those projects highlight the importance of continuing to apply the principles of competitive neutrality, which are essential for promoting fair market practices. Minister Kochuk explained that the state ownership policy document had outlined clear principles and a strategic vision reflecting the government's commitment to gradually withdraw from the certain sectors of the economy. This approach is designed to strengthen the free market system and empower private sector participation. These efforts, he noted, that are part of a broader government strategy to attract more investments, improve the overall business environment, and support sustainable development. The projects expected to launch this year are anticipated to create significant job opportunities and contribute to boosting economic growth across multiple sectors. The minister underlined the need for strong coordination among all concerned institutions to ensure the success of these initiatives. He stressed that reinforcing transparency and maintaining fair competition are key pillars for the ongoing development of Egypt's economy. Minister Kochuk also pointed out that several sectors have shown strong performance over the past 6 months. The tourism sector recorded a growth of 13.1%, the manufacturing sector grew by 12.4%, and the communications and information technology sector expanded by 15.1%. Meanwhile, Egypt's overall economic growth rate rose from 2.5% to 3.9% during the period from July to December 2024.
All right, welcome back, dear viewers. Thank you for staying with us, and thanks to Abir Hussein and Rasha Abdelhamid for this report. We're back here with economic consultant Dr. Amr Hamid. Dr. Hamid, so first of all, how do you see the opportunities in Egypt at the moment, the sectors maybe that are likely to draw more investments and are prepared to draw more investments in the near and long term?
To start with, I would like to pinpoint a very special, no, I wouldn't call it sector, but I would call it region or area.
Okay.
And this is the northwestern coast of Egypt. And we already know that the Arabian Gulf investors from different countries in the Gulf area already started watching what's happening there and investing even there. And I think this is the opportunity number one at the moment for Egypt, that the Egyptian government and the people should really invest and focus on it. This is where I see it, and I don't think that we have done our homework as we're supposed to do in terms of so many things, because so far we are concentrating only on the touristic and hotel part of the coast, which should not be the case. I think we should go much deeper into establishing some kind of industries, even light industry. If you want, we can start with light industries. And then we can even go into, I don't want to say agriculture even, and agro-processing industries. And let's not forget that the north coast of Egypt is not very far from Siwa, which is, in my opinion, a paradise for agriculture as well. So there are so many...
Because of the water resources there.
Exactly, exactly. And because of history even. Historically, Siwa is maybe, it would represent a valley that at one point in time back in history was not that much less
different
than
from the Nile Valley
of the Nile, exactly. So, and there are a lot of explorations there. And I think that agribusiness, yes, industries, IT, education, and health projects, all these things should be really focused. And when I say the northern coast of Egypt, I mean an extension of about 150 kilometers from Alamein in the east till Ras Al Hikma in the west. All this area could develop, and we already have some solid infrastructure to build upon in the area.
Okay. Dr. Hamid, so how do you see the government's efforts in preparing the investment climate or investment atmosphere, the efforts in the past few years?
Okay. Okay, let me tell you that the way I see it is that our government is thinking out of the box. But the expression out of the box is becoming obsolete because everybody now is using it. I'm thinking out of the box. In my opinion, I think it's time to explode the box. So it's not enough to think out of the box, and this is the time now to really explode the box, especially in light of the recent developments in the worldly economy, thanks to Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump is preparing the world now for a new world economic order.
Right.
And we're witnessing this. And I think that this new world economic order, in spite of all the critiques and the negativities surrounding what Trump is doing, I think it represents an excellent opportunity for Egypt today, not tomorrow.
It's good to hear.
Yes, that's why I think it's time now to explode the box. Because we have to take advantage of what's going on now.
So could you give us examples of how we could benefit if we blow up that box?
I don't want to go very far, but because, you know, my discipline is supposed to be very traditional and very conservative. But now it's time to think of a revolutionary economics. And I think this new concept of revolutionary economics, which is a new trend now, why not start from Egypt? Because we just happen to be there. And again, let me pinpoint the importance of the northwestern coast of Egypt, which in my opinion could represent a real new Riviera, a real new one, because Trump was speaking about a Riviera in Gaza. No, I'm saying that the real Riviera should be in the 150 kilometers extending from Alamein up till Ras Al Hikma and maybe Marsa Matruh. So this is where I want to focus now. This is the area where we can really establish, I don't want to say a new Dubai. Let me repeat it again, a new Dubai. And it's already in the back mind of the investors coming from the Gulf, by the way. Because they know very well that, let's take Dubai as an example, and maybe some other business or what they call haven centers, such as Dubai, Bahrain, if you want, Doha, all this area, they all know that we're speaking about 20, 25 years. And they are, I mean, our brothers from the Gulf are very sharp and very clever. And they are thinking from now, where should they go after 25 years? And I think that their focus is on this area in Egypt. because of the geopolitical importance of the area, because it's really the heart of the whole world. Because we're speaking about the South Mediterranean, and it's very important because the that's why I mentioned another Riviera, even much better than the French Riviera in terms of weather, for example, and the Italian Riviera and the Spanish Riviera, what they call Costa Brava in Spain. All this is a European Riviera which is facing Egypt with what we all know, and a lot of tourists know, that even the coast in Egypt and the quality of the water, the quality of the sea, even the quality of the sand itself is much, much better than the European Riviera. So this is if we speak in terms of tourism again, but I don't want to focus only on tourism. I want to focus on an complete system of development, industry, IT, agriculture, transportation, hub from Europe to all Africa and to all the Middle East, with the interest of the Gulf investors in this area. And if you want to challenge me on that, let's see what's going to happen this summer season in the north coast of Egypt. Our brothers from the Gulf area, they already started not only buying in the new projects coming up there, but also booking to spend their summer vacations in the north coast of Egypt. So this is the focus. What we should do, what should the government do, that's a different, very important question.
Well, you're mentioning, you're focusing on very important points, Dr. Hamid here. And allow me to ask you about the partnerships. Now, so who is going to be our main business partner in those investments? Is it just going to be the Arab Gulf countries, or could we also have Europe involved as a major partner in these investments?
Excellent question. This is an excellent question. Yes, the answer is of course yes. We already have our Gulf brothers very much interested in developing and in investing in the area. But as you have hinted, clearly, if we are clever enough, we should not only rely on investments coming from the Gulf area. We should very much focus on European investments, on American investments, on investments coming from China and even Japan, and help our brothers from Africa as well. They will not, the Africans are not going to invest, but they are going to benefit from investments in this area, because again, Egypt will represent a hub that serves all the African countries. And let's not forget that Africa as a continent now is in a stage of development. And Egypt should come back to play the role of the leader of Africa, which I wouldn't say we really lost it, but traditionally and historically, Egypt was always the leader of Africa. In the last 10, 15 years, not anymore. We have competition from South Africa, of course. We have competition from Nigeria, and actually only Nigeria and South Africa are competing with us. But location-wise, Egypt is much better, because South Africa is not facing Europe. Nigeria is not facing Europe. So who has the center of the world? Who is overlooking the Mediterranean from one side and the Red Sea from the other side, and the Gulf area with all the riches of the oil and petroleum and all what's happening in the Gulf area? It's Egypt. So that's why I said it's time to explode the box. So, and to do this, in my opinion, number one, very important, is HR. Human resource. Human resource on the top level and on the lower and medium level and lower level. So this should be our focus. And I think it's time now to focus on the top level. It's very important. And when I say HR, I mean not only the players or the leaders, it's not enough. The system. It's important to establish system. How to establish a system, let's say, to negotiate with the most important economy on earth, America, for example. Now, in light of what we just spoke about before, that we're starting a new world economic order, and we need to have a system to be able to be ahead of this new economic era that's already started.
But of course, this new economic world order will not, should not, and will not see the passage of ships from certain countries in the Suez Canal for free, right?
Of course, yeah, I see where you're going.
So it's a new world economic order.
Yeah.
But it's, is it going to shatter? I mean, all the treaties that have existed for hundreds of years.
I mean, the guy is now is becoming clear to all of us. He is a negotiator. You know who I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
The auditors, they all know what we're speaking about.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a very tough businessman, negotiator. So he starts from here and he can go down till here.
And we saw what happened in the tariffs story. For instance, when we saw the U.S. financial market, I mean the Dow Jones, the S&P, the NASDAQ, losing like 12% in 2 or 3 days.
Exactly.
He immediately intervened, and then the losses were
Exactly.
So,
that's why I think that we should take advantage of what he is doing now. And Egypt is very well placed.
But how can we predict? I mean, it's difficult to predict what's going to happen.
That's why I said system, not only people, not only individuals. If you have a system, then your prediction will be much stronger. Because at the end of the day, there is a science for prediction. In economics, we call it econometrics. Econometrics is a sub-science of economics that its main objective is to predict even most complicated mentalities like our friend in the White House. So that's why it's important to establish the system.
We've been saying for years that we should always be prepared for all scenarios and not just be a reaction. But to have initiatives and initiation.
Yes.
How can we have this? And you said blow up the box. So how can we have? Tell me about some examples of some initiatives that maybe Egypt could do that will help it in these difficult times.
It's very important to establish. The system is to put the right people on top. This is very important. And I have to admit that I'm only speaking from my discipline, which is, again, economics.
Right.
And I would say that the 6 or 7 ministers that are responsible for the economic portfolio of Egypt, I would say that maybe 2 of them are in the right place. But we have to really start thinking of geniuses. What we need here is geniuses to establish and run the system. If you establish and run the system, and by the way, this system is not only a strategy. What is very important also is
implementation.
Sorry?
Implementation.
Of course, implementation. But before implementation is the laws and regulations. And here I'm speaking about the financial rules, laws and the financial regulations that need to be established and put in place, and timely. Timely in terms of things that could be achieved today, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
And this is part of the system. And by the way, our constitution is very solid and very strong.
Yeah.
The problem is not with the constitution. The problem is with the rules and regulations. I'm speaking about financial and banking rules and regulations and laws. We need to work deeply into creating an evolution of this judicial and legal system to boost the business and to boost the role of Egypt as an economic leader in the whole Middle East area.
Right. Dr. Hamid, I want to go back to the sectors issue again, because Egypt's economy is so diversified. I mean, and we have so many sectors that contribute to GDP. You have the industrial sector, the agricultural sector, and within it you have a lot of businesses, like we have the petrochemical, for instance, industry, the pharmaceutical industry. The banking industry is very solid in Egypt, generally speaking. Services, of course, I mean, you name it. So we have a diversified economy. So where can we focus, in your opinion,
Yeah.
more in the upcoming stage?
Okay, let me pick up from what you just said now and tell you crystal clear. The most important of all what you have mentioned now is the banking system. It's very important to really strengthen our banking system. We already have a solid infrastructure for the banking system, but what the banking system is really lacking till now is the base of banking anywhere in the world, which is confidence and trust. And confidence and trust is based on what? On rules and regulations and laws. This is what we're missing at the moment. Or I wouldn't say missing, but let me be more...
You want it to be at a higher level.
At a much higher level. At a much higher, because in order to be able to attract investors, whether it's foreign FDI, foreign direct investments, even domestic investments, you have to make sure that you establish confidence and trust in the banking system. So this
absolute confidence and absolute
exactly,
trust.
Exactly.
You're not saying there isn't.
No, of course.
Of course, there is confidence and there is trust, but you want to elevate that level.
I want Egypt to be one. It's, by the way, with the infrastructure that exists in Egypt, Egypt could easily, in the next 3, 4, maximum 5 years, become one of the top 10 economies on earth.
10?
Yes.
I thought you were going to say 30 or 20.
No, 15. Let's not push our dreams too much, but 15. If you want to achieve Egypt becomes an economy number 15 worldwide, number one, establish confidence and trust in the economy and in the bank, in the financial institutions. This is very important. Up till now, we cannot even establish laws how to run the stock exchange. Up till today, we're still speaking whether we should tax the stock exchange, buy and sell, or establish a system of stamping, for example. So it's very important. And I bet if we can establish this trust in the financial system, including the banks, the economy will jump and become... By the way, at the moment we are maybe, GDP, Egypt is maybe number 37, 38.
Okay.
And we speak about one of the top 15. So it is...
Yeah, it's reasonable.
It is achievable. So this is one thing. The other thing, among all the sectors that you mentioned, we have a very simple equation in economics, which we call it the horizontal balance and the vertical balance. So by horizontal balance, I mean an economy that is strong enough should have a balance between industries, agriculture, tourism, IT, transportation, you name it, horizontal. But it should be...
Do we have that balance?
No, we don't.
To a certain extent?
Yes, to a certain extent, yes. But it's important that you establish that it's like a table. A table should have 4 balanced legs. But if one of the legs is
taller
shorter or longer, then it's not balanced. So this is what I call by horizontal, sectoral balances, and all of them are solid and sound, and none of them is like agriculture in Egypt, which is becoming much weaker. For example, agriculture should be very strong.
Of course.
Okay?
Food security.
Exactly, exactly. So this is what I mean by horizontal balance. And then you have a vertical balance. No economy will grow without establishing the vertical balance. By vertical balance, I mean, let's start from down there, consumer goods. I make chocolates, I make cheeses, I make blades, shaving blades, I make all these, consumer goods. This is the bottom. And then, do I make the higher level of the machinery, the light machinery that produce these things or not? Or do I have to import them? So this is light machinery. And the raw material, do I have to import it or I have it locally? That's one step higher in the vertical balance.
Right.
And then let's go another level higher in the vertical balance, which is the medium machinery. Do I import it or can I make medium machinery in my country domestically? So that's a higher level. And then heavy machinery. Do I rely on importing heavy machinery or I make it locally? And by the way, in the 60s we already had factories that their objective was to make heavy machinery, but it did not continue. Okay, and then basic infrastructure, that's a higher level even in the vertical balance. Like when I want to make my metro network or metro stations, do I do it locally or do I rely on importing? And
The
the same,
know-how, yeah.
the basic infrastructure. So this is what I mean by vertical balance.
Right.
So if you can achieve horizontal balance and vertical balance, then you take off as an economy.
I guess we have more problems, and you correct me, of course, if I'm wrong, in the vertical balance than we have in the horizontal balance. Is that correct?
Of course, yeah, that's an excellent observation. Yes, of course, we're relying so much on the bottom level only, which is the retail products and the consumer goods. We're very good. We're the best in producing, you know, all these, you know, chewing gum and chocolate and I don't know what and all these little things. But when we go a little bit higher in the vertical balance, we rely a lot on imports. So this is very important. Horizontal balance with vertical balance, very clear objective in front of our government with focus, very solid focus on the financial / banking system rules and regulations.
Very clear. The responsibilities of both the government and the private sector here, the importance of both of them being there, the importance of distributing the load and the roles of each of them.
This is a very sensitive issue. Do you really want me to go into this? It's very sensitive.
Of course, it has to be balanced, right?
If you speak about the Egyptian private sector, and let's speak about the top part. Because the medium part of the private sector, I think they are doing a good job.
Okay.
But let's take the top part, and I am not going to mention names. We all know
please.
that the biggest
Don't,
10...
don't,
I will not, don't worry, I will not. Yeah, but if you take the biggest 10 or 20 names in Egypt, let me ask you a very simple question, and your auditors, they all know the answer. How much of their investments, of their net worth, is in Egypt and how much is abroad? Okay?
Okay.
It's very simple. If you can succeed...
So we need to encourage
Of course.
them more.
How?
To
Trust and confidence. You have to start with the domestic business people. All of them, they have investments in Egypt. But are you speaking about what, 10%, 15% of their total net worth in Egypt, and 80% or 75 or 60% abroad? I want them to invest abroad, but let them put 20-80. 20 abroad and 80 in their
80 at
country.
home,
Yeah. If you succeed in this, can you imagine how big...
If you succeed in this, I might see your vision being realized, you know, number 15.
That's it.
I mean...
That's it. Very simple. And then if this happens, then the FDI will follow in no time. They will follow in no time. It's an excellent opportunity in front of our country today, not tomorrow. And there is no guarantee that's going to stay, because we have neighbors waiting for any mistake from Egypt to take the opportunity. Here I can mention the names if you want. Morocco, for example. Okay? Saudi Arabia, another example.
Brotherly countries, but I mean, competition is fair. I mean, it's
not only
fair
brotherly,
economic
and Israel.
competition.
They are going to take advantage. We're not speaking.
No, of course, I was talking about Morocco and Saudi Arabia, and saying, you know, it's fair. It's a fair economic competition.
Exactly,
so
it's a fair competition.
Okay.
So that's why we have to take advantage today, not tomorrow, because the opportunity will not wait for us.
How much has the barbaric Israeli war on Palestinians in Gaza, and really its aggressions against Syria, Lebanon, and you name it, how much has it affected the, other than the Suez Canal flow, because of the Houthi attacks and what's happening in the Red Sea, but the Israeli aggression against its neighbors, and against the people whom it occupies, like the Palestinians, how much has it negatively affected the Egyptian economy?
It's very negative. It's very negative. Although I realize, because I just happened to go to Al Ain al-Sukhna few times the last months. I mean, since the festivity of Ramadan till last week, I went to Al Ain al-Sukhna like maybe 5 or 6 times, only for a long weekend. And I could realize that last week I could see a lot of ships crossing the canal. So that's a good sign. It's a good sign. I mean, at the
Yeah,
beginning,
things are improving, yeah.
of course it is improving, because I mean, during Ramadan or just after Ramadan, which is like 2 months ago or so, there was only one ship every, I don't know, every hour or 2 hours. Now you can see every kilometer a ship crossing. So I think that lately the issue of the Suez Canal is much better than a few weeks ago.
So if we get a ceasefire in Gaza, if things calm down, this should help the Egyptian economy.
100%, yes, of course, yeah.
Albeit, but of course Egypt in all cases is very safe and very stable, so I mean, has it really been affected that big other than the passage of the Suez Canal? I'm talking about the economic effect.
Yes, of course. It's still well, we are safe, of course, but that's there is a difference between being safe and losing opportunities. Another example: what are we doing in Sinai? From an investment economic standpoint, zero. Zero. Sinai investment.
The government has poured like hundreds of billions of pounds.
Believe me, if the situation is better in terms of the war, Israel and Gaza, Sinai will become will boom. Will boom, because there are a lot of, in this case we can speak about maybe one of the best 10 ranks in the world, if we include Sinai in the equation. Of course, Sinai is an excellent opportunity for investments, of course. And
Israel wouldn't want to see that. Wouldn't want to see Sinai boom.
That's a good question.
And maybe this is part of its
that's a good question.
Plan and the aggression.
Frankly speaking, because you know I was involved in the 1973 war, so I have my own feelings.
You must be proud of having been involved.
Very proud, yeah.
In Egypt's biggest day.
Exactly. But I mean, if I put my feelings aside, and I think as a pure economist, only without any personal biases, then the Israelis, they wouldn't mind shaking hands with us for projects in Sinai, which I mean, against my feelings, okay, I mean, why not? Yeah.
But of course peace has to prevail first in occupied Palestine and elsewhere for that to happen. So Dr. Hamid, we only have a couple of minutes left. I want to go back to the major point that you stressed upon tonight, which is the opportunities in the North Coast, in Egypt's North Coast. So let's wrap up with that, because you really highlighted that this is the area where you think that Egypt can draw in more local and foreign investments, and this is the area that could lift the Egyptian economy
Let
up.
me just to try to summarize everything. When I was 10 years old, I used to live in Alexandria, and there was a lot of ships coming from Europe to visit Egypt. With Europeans, they used to come to Egypt on the ships with their cars. So the ship would come from Europe to Alexandria, and then the tourists, they would just drive from the boats.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And they go and make the tour of Egypt and go back to the boat and go back to Europe.
Wonderful.
This was in the 1965.
The good old days.
The good old days. Imagine what could happen if we have a North Coast that is open to Europe now. Does this answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
If we have maritime lines between Egypt and Europe, if we have all these, you know, the huge cruises that you see all over the world with 20-floor ships visiting the whole world, and the Caribbean and the Mediterranean and the North Sea. Could you imagine that not even one cruise stops in Egypt? Imagine that if the Mediterranean cruises stop in Egypt. The tourists from America, from China, from Europe, they will become crazy to come and visit Egypt. If they stop in the North Coast, if we have a big harbor in Alamein, for example, or in Ras Al Hikma, and the 20-story ship would stop there for 2 nights only. Can you imagine what would this do?
Yeah.
Imagine if we have an industrial zone that already started, by the way, in Alamein. And we have factories in Alamein. We already started, the university where I'm teaching at the moment, the Arab Academy, which belongs to the Arab League, by the way.
Well, yeah,
It's not,
of course.
It's, yeah, we already have.
It's
a
not an
university-
ad, no, it's not.
Ad for what? For the Arab League?
Right.
Okay,
It's not, yeah.
It is the
Yeah.
Arab League anyway.
Yeah.
So the idea is that we have a university already established with different faculties in Alamein, with students coming from all the Arab world studying in Alamein, professors living in Alamein now teaching there, education, health. Imagine hospital, specialized hospital, Siwa, Marsa Matruh, our neighbors in Libya. What would we do to them? A gate towards the south in Africa. This is what I mean by the North Coast and how it could really be exploited for the benefit of the Egyptian economy.
Indeed.
Yeah. So did I answer your question?
You did very well, Dr. Hamid. And of course, the North Coast, and we're not being biased here because we're Egyptians or because you happen to come from Alexandria. But for those who haven't seen the North Coast, I mean, the North Coast of Egypt is just beautiful. And I know we've been around many countries in the world, so have I. But this is an area of the world that is one of the most beautiful, and we're not being biased here. I mean, Egypt's northern coast.
I am not being biased because I don't consider myself an Egyptian. I consider myself an Egyptian, Mediterranean, Arab, African.
We all are.
Exactly, Middle Eastern. So I'm not biased. But by the way, because you know I'm maybe older than you, but I have
just a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit, yes, that's a good one. So I have been through all the beaches of the Mediterranean, all South Europe, from all Spain, France, Italy, Cyprus, Lebanon, Turkey.
You didn't mention Greece. You forgot it.
I lived in Greece.
Okay.
I lived in Greece. The North Coast is number one without any biases. Unbeatable. Unbeatable. It's just not exploited. As simple as that.
Dr. Amr Hamid, the economic consultant, always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. Please stay with Nile TV.